Ubisoft have really settled into a groove with their Far Cry series, with every numbered entry now followed by a named game with a much more unusual setting and plot, which is kind of saying something when the mainline Far Cry series is known for being a bit out there. So, after Far Cry 3, there was the 80s sci-fi schlock of Blood Dragon, after 4 there was the Neanderthal adventures of Primal, and now 5 is being followed by New Dawn. Outside of splashing the world with post-apocalyptic pink flowers, New Dawn actually makes some rather intriguing changes to the series, while still being the open-world shooter that we all know. Now at this point I'm going to make you aware that there are some Far Cry series spoilers, so if you haven't played the games and you kind of want to get to the end and see what happens, then maybe go back and play 5. But considering how Ubisoft are going all out with New Dawn and how it relates to the previous games, let's just say that you can't really blame me. So here's some spoilers. Where the other spin-offs were set in their own little bubbles, Far Cry New Dawn is a pretty direct follow-on from Far Cry 5. Far Cry Primal did actually reuse and adapt some of the world map from Far Cry 4, but New Dawn goes one step further and actually continues on the story from the main Doomsday ending of 5. Joseph Seed was absolutely right about the impending apocalypse, and this game picks up 17 years later as nature and mankind have started to bounce back. The world has become overgrown with foliage, lightly mutated animals like deer with glowing red horns have emerged, and little settlements of surviving humans have also sprung up. And so, when there's new good guys, there's also new bad guys. From the bomb shelter of Hope County, the town of Prosperity sprouted and created this almost idyllic world, right up until the Highwaymen and their leaders, the twins Mickey and Lou, they both appear to disrupt this peacefulness. You don't play as one of those that has been living in Prosperity though, but rather one of Thomas Rush's lieutenants, and Rush is someone who's been travelling across the country looking to help and reunite the many isolated communities of the United States. That mission goes a little bit sideways when his train is hijacked and crashed, leaving you once again as the only one who can really fight back. Venturing out from Prosperity, which is now in the bottom left-hand corner of the map as opposed to the central island where you started in Far Cry 5, and you can see that the world has been transformed on a number of levels. The scars of the old world still exist and you can revisit some of the many landmarks from Far Cry 5. In fact, New Dawn actually gives you in-game photographs of these landmarks so that you can go and hunt them down for a bit of a visual comparison. All of this gives the game a great background for the narrative to build on. So you've got several different tangents that you can go down. You can follow up on Rush having been kidnapped, you can go and find out what happened to Joseph Seed and the other people that went into that particular bunker, and as you adventure you'll encounter a number of characters from the previous game, which means that you've got this background and story that you can build upon. It goes much beyond just being a new story though, with what Ubisoft are calling some light RPG leveling. Your character, him or herself, doesn't actually change as you play, although you can get perks along the way, but it's rather the town, your weapons, and the enemies that can grow and evolve over time. For the town, you're heading out and fighting the Highwaymen in order to get their ethanol and other requirements to upgrade the various parts of the town, which in turn opens up new gear and gameplay possibilities. Enemies now also become much more difficult, gaining armour and more powerful weaponry as they level up. They get a good chunk of extra health, which is signified by the split health bars above their heads, the biggest and baddest of which are a serious challenge to take on, even if you're well equipped for the situation and have leveled up your guns. Speaking of which, a new saw gun is a whole lot of fun to play with as it silently fires saw blades at enemies. Because it doesn't make much noise, it feels like it's going to be a great option for stealth, but I have to say that the way that they can ricochet is a bit of a double-edged saw blade, if you're trying to approach without raising the alarm. The main problem is that you might have got a perfect headshot off on a guard, but then the saw blade seemingly finds itself magnetically attracted to the nearest explosive barrel, and everything goes up in flames. There goes your attempt at tackling the outpost unnoticed. Another major new feature from previous Far Cry games is that the Highwaymen can come and reclaim the land and outposts from you, but instead of having this set as a dynamic war that shifts battle lines back and forth, it's more scripted towards players' desires. In order to get the highwaymen to return, you have to decide to scavenge an outpost that you've already captured for resources. That then hands it back to them, they roll in with more powerful troops to guard it again, and you can fight them a second, third and more times to get even higher rewards. On the one hand, it is a shame that it isn't more fluid and natural feeling, but it does avoid the frustration of having outposts that you captured being overrun, and then having to respond to calls for help from the other side of the map every few minutes. It's all really about giving more options and choice to the player, and that's made even broader when you consider the expeditions. These let you head off to other parts of the country in a chopper to take on smaller, contained scenarios, with the sole objective being to get into a highwayman base, steal their supplies, and then get out and survive until you can be picked up by the chopper. These are a great way to quickly get a lot of resources and level up your base, but I did find them really quite challenging as I snuck onto an old aircraft carrier, grabbed the package, and then inevitably died on the beaches waiting for pickup. One of the things that could have helped me during this would have been to tap into the returning Guns for Hire and Fangs for Hire systems so that I could have had some backup. You've got new ones like Timber the Dog, Horatio the Wild Boar, as well as some rather unique and quirky humans that might accompany you on your journeys, but it's also good to see some returning faces here, such as Grace, even though she's now blind and much less used as a sniper. Alternatively, the whole game can still be played in co-op all the way through, and having two of you can really help to disrupt the higher level enemies at certain outposts. I had my buddy leading one of the highest level gold tier enemies around while I was trying to drop mortar shells on his head, for example, and it actually worked really quite well. Stepping out from the ashes of the old world, there's a lot that's familiar about Far Cry New Dawn, but there's also some really quite deep changes to the balance and the difficulty that Ubisoft have made. The minimalist enemy and weapon leveling adds a lot of challenge to the game if you want to go after it, while the flyaway expeditions are really interesting sandbox missions that add a lot of variety to what is a clearly reused but utterly transformed Hope County. Thanks as ever for checking out our video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if New Dawn is tickling your fancy, it's actually out really soon. It's on the 15th of February. You can head over to thesixaxis.com for this preview as well as tons of other video games coverage, but before you go, please do like, subscribe and share this video. That will really help us out. Hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye!